the fact that I'm doing this video, it's a miracle if you ask me. So I'm going to give my testimony about abortion. I never, ever, ever thought I would do this. So here we go. I'm Leslie. And when I was 17, I did get pregnant. I was still in high school, but I was getting ready to graduate. So I'm like, okay, the father of the baby I was still with, and so we decided to get married. We had the baby. Everything was good. So she's fine and wonderful. She's married with 3 kids, graduated from college. So everything was fine and wonderful with her. But what I want to say is, after she was born, it was difficult. I mean, I was only 18 years old, very young. We were totally broke, but it was okay. I mean, we got through it and everything. But the lie in my head was, when I got pregnant, when she was about a year old, the lie in my head was like, how can you do it with two babies? How could you have 2 babies? The lie was, oh, you're doing terrible right now with 1 baby. What in the world are you going to possibly do with 2 babies? Lie, lie, lie. Now I know it's a lie, but at the time I was so young. And so I believed the lie that I was a bad mom. Okay. And then the other lie I believed was, oh, you right away figured out you're pregnant. Okay. It's just a blob of cells. It's not even a baby. It's not even a human. Okay. And so my husband and I, we decided to have an abortion. So looking back, okay, anyways, that's what this whole video is about. Okay. So I had my first abortion when I don't know exactly how old I was, but you know, maybe I was 19. I'm not sure by then. I don't know exactly the time frame of all of that. But anyways, here I am. Okay, but I'm 61 now. This is the first video I've ever made about abortion, because the lie of the devil tells you you can't do it. It's not really a baby. It's going to be easy. Just get through it. It's fine. Okay. So I remember the day of that abortion. My husband and I, we had my baby in the back seat, you know, in her car seat and everything. He drops me off at the abortion clinic. I remember every single part of that abortion. I remember everything. Okay. So afterwards, he picked me up. So he didn't stay. He picked me up then. We got home. We never, not once talked about that. That whole abortion. Never talked about it. Never. That should tell you something right there. We never talked about it. Okay, so I was still young, ignorant. So we, you know, my daughter was growing and everything. My mom lived by, so she did help babysit with my daughter, but I really wasn't. I went to church. Okay, you know what? I was a Christian. I went to church. I went to church all the time. I mean, I led children's ministry. I did a lot of stuff. Women's ministry. I'm a leader. So I did a lot of stuff. Said I was a Christian. I didn't have any personal relationship with Jesus. Looking back, there's so many things I did wrong. But anyways, I didn't know what I didn't know. And so my husband and I, that was my first husband. Okay, anyways, that's a whole nother story, and I may get to that. I don't know. But anyways, so my first husband. So eventually, I mean, we were living in sin as far as like partying and adultery. So it was bad. But okay, so towards the end of the marriage, our marriage lasted 7 years, but right before we got divorced, I got pregnant again. So I thought we were getting our life back together, our family back together. I felt like everything was going to be fine. And so when I got pregnant that time, the second time, when I was, I don't know, what was I then? I don't know, 24 or 5 or something like in there. I'm not a numbers person. Okay. I'm not a numbers person. Anyways, it doesn't even really matter, that part. So I got pregnant, and I was actually kind of excited. I thought, oh, this is awesome. I'm starting to mature. You know, let's get our life back in order. Let's do this. You know. And then he's like, no, I'm leaving. I have a girlfriend. I'm like, what? Really? I mean, I knew he was, and we both had stepped out in adultery. So I've forgiven him. I've forgiven myself. And that's a whole nother story. So anyways, he left us. So I'm pregnant. And then again, the lie is, oh, you can't do this. You can't do this, and I'm actually a very strong woman, but I believe the lie that you can't do this. You can't do this. So I had abortion number 2. And so this time I was all by myself then. My daughter was at daycare, and I went to the abortion clinic. I remember arriving at the abortion clinic in Minneapolis, Minnesota area. But you know what? I have like a wall. It's like blacked out. I seriously cannot remember it. I remember no things about that abortion. The first abortion, I remember everything about it. Okay. The second one, for some reason, my mind is 100% blocked it out. Okay. So, but after the abortion, this is really terrible. I went to a Christmas party. How horrible is that? I just had an abortion. I'm like bleeding, I have like a pad in my pants because I'm bleeding because, abortion's bad. Okay. So I'm bleeding a lot, and I'm at a Christmas party, and my baby, how do you live with that? It was horrible. So, but again, hear me, I'm just like, I blocked it out. I literally blocked it out for 40 years. 40 years. So if it was just a blob of cells, why hasn't it taken me 40 years to talk about it? If it's just a blob of cells, how come everybody, if I've ever heard the word abortion during that 40 years, I'd be like, oh, I don't want to talk about that. And then, over the years, a few times I've been asked if I've had an abortion, and I'm like, no, never did that. So if it was just a blob of cells and no big deal, then why did I lie about it? Why have I been grieving for 40 years from my first one, and it was like 35 whatever years for my second one, grieving, and so much grief and pain and shame? I couldn't even talk about it. I mean, obviously now I know. Okay, now, and what was the big difference? Okay, so all of those years I went to church, I had no idea who Jesus was. Zero. Seriously, zero. I didn't know who Jesus was. But then I don't know, like 8 years ago, like I said, I'm not a numbers person, and the numbers don't even really matter, but around 8 years ago or something, God miraculously healed me twice. So about 8 years ago or so, when I was going through menopause, I was just bleeding a lot. And so I called the doctor. I'm like, what do I do? I mean, there's just lots of blood loss for like 2 weeks. It was horrible. And she's like, you got to come in here the next morning. It was like at night or the afternoon when I talked to her. So she's like, okay, the next morning, come into the doctor's. Okay, so that night though, before I went to the doctor, I was in bed sleeping, and all of a sudden I woke up, and I'm like, what's going on? I was startled out of my sleep. I felt like I was having a heart attack. And so then I look across the room, and there's this electrical ball of light. It comes to me, envelops me, 100% healed me. I never have dropped another drop of blood in that woman's way. Okay, zero, none. Okay, so I'm like, what was that? I had no idea what that was. So I just kind of then was peaceful, went to sleep, woke up the next morning, didn't say anything to anybody. Okay. And then 2 weeks later, I had the cold, the flu, the symptoms, whatever, lots of stuff going on in my body. I didn't quite understand them. But in the middle of the night, again, a ball of light, like electrical ball of light, I see in the middle of the night, wakes me up. And then I'm enveloped by this ball of light, and 100% healed again. No symptoms at all from this cold flu thing. Zero. Again, I felt like peace, went to sleep, woke up, didn't say anything. So I was married to my now husband, which is actually my fourth husband. That's another story. Okay, so my husband slept through all this stuff, but he knew I was sick. I mean, so he knew that, oh, you're better, you know, whatever, but I didn't really like tell him why I was better. Anyways, so the next morning I didn't say anything to him. I kind of kept it quiet and stuff, but eventually I'm like, wow, there must be a true God. I mean, this is amazing. And so kind of during that time too, my mom was in a nursing home, and so I'd spend a lot of time with her. But then when she passed, there was a Bible college kind of near her home and everything. So I just felt calling, like maybe I should go to Bible study. And so after she died, went to heaven, I did go to Bible study. And so things just started to change and started to click. I started to get a foundation. So I started to read the Bible. I didn't even read the Bible before. I mean, I knew some parts of the Bible, you know, I knew some of the stories and all that, but I didn't really know the Bible. I didn't really truly know Jesus at all. But getting to know Jesus has actually been kind of a process for me. And then one time, my pastor prayed over me to be filled with the Holy Spirit with speaking in tongues and everything. And so then the next day, I didn't actually speak in tongues that day, but then the next day, the next day when I cried out to God, he did give me the gift of speaking in tongues. And so I do speak in tongues, and that's, again, a whole different message, but it's so beautiful. And so, so I got to know Jesus on a whole different level. So beautiful, wonderful. And so I really have gotten to know Jesus now, and that's really kind of how we got to where we're at now with this video, because without Jesus, I wouldn't be able to heal from all of that shame, that pain, that grief. The abortions are horrible. Like I said, the second one, I still can't even remember the second. It was so terrible. The first one, I don't know. I don't know why I do remember the first one, but the second one, but again, lie. I believed a lie that it was just a blob of cells. It wasn't even a baby. Well, then if it was just a bunch of cells, then why has it been so horrible the past 40 years? Yeah, no, I know better now that I've been educated about the growth of the conception with the sperm and the egg in the body and everything. It was twice. I believe I had a girl and a boy in my womb that are now in heaven. And Psalm 139 is so beautiful. It talks about that. I don't have it at my fingertips, but I should probably go get that, because Psalm 139 is beautiful. It talks about how God knew us before we were born. And so I need to get that to read it to you. But anyways, so back to my story. Someone gave me they on Facebook actually mentioned a book. And then once I got this book, I started to read it. And that's really, after I knew Jesus though too. I mean, Jesus is critical, because I needed forgiveness. I needed to forgive myself for everything, because I hate to say this, but technically I murdered my 2 children. Horrible, horrible. So that's what I've been living with for 40 years, but I had to forgive myself. And so that's why it's such a process for me of forgiving myself and you know, forgive my husband and all of that, because we did it together and he left me for another woman. But again, like I said, we both had done things that we shouldn't have done. And so, I mean, I've forgiven him, but to forgive myself was actually the hardest part. But with Jesus, it's possible to forgive yourself. And so that's why I'm so thankful that Jesus woke me up so that I could forgive myself. And so, yeah, Psalm 139. So Psalm 139. Oh, there's lights in my eyes. That looks kind of weird. Sorry. Anyways, I want to read Psalm 139 for you. And if you're looking for the best quality video, then, you know, you picked the wrong one. This is just raw footage. This is just my testimony. Okay, so Psalm 139. Part of this is so powerful where this really helped me a lot. So it says, it's Psalm 139. I'm going to start in verse 13. It says, For you formed my inward part. You knitted me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works. My soul knows it very well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was being made in secret, intricately woven in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed substance. In your book were written, every one of them, the days that were formed for me, when as yet there was none of them. So it talks about right there how he knows us when we're in our mother's womb, okay? He knew us. He created us. The Bible tells us that we're created in God's image. So that's why for 40 years it was so hard that I couldn't forgive myself, because I didn't have blobs of cells in my womb. They were babies. They were babies. And so I had to work through the forgiveness process of forgiving myself. And there's so much to that. But so the point of this whole video is the lie of the devil. He'll tell you all kinds of lies, telling you it's not really a baby, you're not capable, you don't have enough money, all of those lies. But I'm here to tell you there's lots of resources that can help you, and you just need to find somebody to help you, to love you. And so this book has really helped me. I don't even know this woman. I've never met her in my life. But a friend showed me this book on Facebook, and I read it, and it literally changed my life. So if you have had abortion and you are grieving that, which you should, because your babies are no more, and it wasn't just a blob of cells. No shame in that, because God has forgiven you when you reach out and cry out to him. And Jesus paid for the price of our forgiveness on the cross, the death, burial, resurrection. I mean, Jesus did it all so that we can be forgiven and reunited with our children. So I am so thankful for, again, the Bible, like Psalm 139. There's so many powerful messages in here. John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only son, so that whosoever believes in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. And thank you for other people that are willing to share their story to help other people heal. And I'm sharing my testimony to tell you it's never too late. If you did make the decision and you had an abortion, there's forgiveness for you, because I'm forgiven. It's been a process. And again, if you're considering abortion, don't do it. Don't do it. 40 years it took me to heal from that. And I don't know if I'll be 100% healed until I get to heaven. I mean, I'll always have a part of broken heart in here for my 2 children that are in heaven, that I didn't even let them. My 2 children in heaven, I've named them. Craig is the older boy, and then Rose is the younger one. So Craig and Rose are in heaven. They'll never get to go to school. They'll never get to go to college. They'll never get to be married. They're never going to have children. I'm never going to have grandchildren from them. It's a catastrophe. It's horrible. Abortion is horrific. But again, I did it twice. I was ignorant. I believed lies. And now I'm here to speak the truth. In Jesus, there is forgiveness, but please, yes, the Bible will forgive, the words here. Jesus is the word. Jesus is the answer. If you've had an abortion, Jesus is the answer. He can help set you free. But if you're considering abortion, please don't do it. It's not easy. It's not fast. And it's not just a blob of cells. I believe those lies. Please do not believe those lies. Seriously, I'm 61. This is my first video of ever sharing my story about the abortion. That's how horrible it is. It is horrible. If you want to reach out to me, I have a contact page. Just go to lesliejackson.org. And I mean, I can do the best I can to give you resources and everything. I don't have all the answers. All I know that Jesus is the answer for me, and Jesus can be the answer for you. So God bless you.